Namaste and hello there. My name is Abhijit. This is third part of series Introduction to DBMS. In previous parts, we have seen what is data, databases, history of databases and evolution of DBMS systems. Today, we will understand definitions of different terms related DBMS, difference between DBMS and RDBMS, and difference between SQL versus NoSQL language. So let's get started. Let's start with definitions of these terms. There are three types of DBMS systems available, that is database management system, relational database management systems and distributed database management system. DBMS is database management system used to store data. It can handle very limited amount of data. Microsoft Excel and Notepad are examples of DBMS system. RDBMS is relational database management system which stores data in tables and define relationship within those tables. It can handle large amount of data. For example, MS SQL Server, Oracle and DB2. Non-relational or distributed database management system stores data as per requirement. It can handle massive amount of data. Examples are Cosmos DB and MongoDB. Now next is scripting language used to work on these DBMS systems. SQL, that is structured query language, is used to retrieve and modify information from relational DBMS, whereas NoSQL, that is non-structured query language, is used to retrieve and modify information from non-relational databases. So structured query language, that is SQL, is used with relational DBMS, and non-structured query language, that is NoSQL, is used with distributed DBMS. Now let's look at difference between DBMS and RDBMS. DBMS stores data as a file, that is Excel or Notepad, whereas RDBMS stores data in a table, that is into rows or columns. DBMS supports single user, that is only one user access your desktop file at a time, whereas RDBMS supports multi-user, that is n number of users can simultaneously access database at a time. DBMS needs low software and hardware as it processes limited data, whereas RDBMS needs higher hardware and software to process large amount of data. DBMS doesn't support client-server architecture, as files cannot be maintained on one location and accessed from other location, whereas RDBMS supports client-server architecture, in which data is maintained on one server and all clients can access data from that server. There is very minimal or low security in file system of DBMS, whereas RDBMS has multiple levels of security to maintain and to manipulate data. Examples of DBMS system are file systems, MS Excel, XML, Windows Registry, etc. Whereas examples of RDBMS are MS SQL, Oracle, DB2 and MySQL. Moving on to next topic, that is SQL versus NoSQL. We can also call it as relational versus distributed system. So SQL is used in relational database management system, whereas NoSQL is used in distributed database management system. Schemas are static and not easy to administer in SQL, whereas schemas are dynamic and easy to administer in NoSQL. Schema represents structure of the database. We may call it as blueprint of the database. So it's difficult to manage schemas once they are defined in SQL, but we can modify schemas in NoSQL at any point of time as requirement changes. Data stored in tables in SQL, whereas data mainly stored using JSON in NoSQL. SQL tables consist of rows and columns, whereas JSON, that is JavaScript Object Notation, is a lightweight format for storing and transporting data. It is often used when data is sent from a server to a web page. SQL can scale up vertically with increased hardware, whereas NoSQL is horizontally scalable with fault tolerance. Scalability means to increase capabilities. Vertical scale-up means to add more power by adding more CPU and RAM to existing computer. Whereas horizontal scale-up means to add more computers into your pool of resources, providing fault tolerance, that is providing an uninterrupted service despite one or more of its computers are failing. Complex queries can be designed using SQL, whereas there is very limited query capabilities in NoSQL. SQL is well established and developed language, so complex queries can easily be written in SQL. whereas NoSQL is a new query language, so there is limited query capabilities in NoSQL. SQL is efficient for small to large scale applications. That is, it is used in small to large scale industries to maintain their internal data. Whereas NoSQL is efficient in case of massive data of the companies like Facebook and Google. So companies like Facebook and Google have to process millions and billions of records at a time. To fulfill this need, they use NoSQL or distributed system. SQL is well documented and mature system with so many resources available in the market, whereas NoSQL is less adopted and less mature system, so specific expertise is often required to work on NoSQL. There is resource crunch in the market for NoSQL. Examples of relational system are MS SQL Server, Oracle, DB2, MySQL, Sybase and Teradata, whereas examples of NoSQL are Cosmos DB, MongoDB and SAP HANA. Now recently I came across an amazing article of W3 Resource which has some good pictorial details about NoSQL or distributed systems. While designing a distributed system, one should consider three basic properties before implementing it, which is called as CAP theorem. C for consistency, A for availability and P for partition tolerance. Consistency makes sure that data in database remains consistent. Availability makes sure that system is always on and there is no downtime. Partition tolerance makes sure system continues to function even after failure of some servers. So this diagram provides combination of these properties and which database systems comes under the combination of those properties. Consistency and availability are properties of RDBMS system. Availability and partition tolerance can be found in CouchDB, Cassandra, DynamoDB or Riak, whereas consistency and partition tolerance can be found in MongoDB, HBase or Redis. Now, companies are trying to build a database management system which can satisfy all three properties to have a robust database management system which can handle massive amount of data at ease. So this is all for today. We are going to start an in-depth series on Microsoft SQL Server administration and development since next week. Till then, stay happy, stay blessed, keep learning and take care.